Okay, another background idea. Boy, if you could see the mess around my desk right now, I'm so glad that you can't. It's unbelievable. It's good that you can just see my book. So we're going to do a really simple one this time. Now, I gessoed my pages. Even if you're using blank, you should gesso. I'm going to be spraying a non-opaque paint on these pages for our next background. And that's why I wanted to add the gesso. But also, anytime you add the gesso, it's like another layer of texture. So it's just a good habit to get into. Unfortunately, if you're impatient like me, it's really hard to get a book ready to gesso. Okay, so I am going to just spray these pages using my shimmers. And I like doing that when I sort of just trying to get a quick layer down. You can use Glimmer Mist, you can use any of these sprays, or if you want, you can use paint. That's okay too. Again, I like the shimmers because it is not opaque. So I don't know if you can see this, but it's picking up from the gesso below everywhere where I rubbed it on with my hands. By the way, I do it with my hands, but there's still like these different movements in the gesso from my hand, but they're creating beautiful textures. So again, another reason just to have the gesso. I'm going to, I have to let that dry. And I wanted to mention, you may have noticed that I'm putting wax paper in between my pages here as we work on them. I mean, ideally you would let everything dry really well and, you know, then move on to the next. But wax paper is okay too. It really, it really does keep everything from getting too stuck together. And sometimes even you get some interesting effects as a result of putting the wax paper in between. So let me dry this a bit. Okay, so I went ahead and dried that and sort of fast forwarded that so that you didn't have to sit through the noise in the drawing. But as I was doing that, I did something that I wanted to show you. What I like about the shimmers is if you've sprayed on too much, you can take a Scott's towel and dab it. And just very lightly, and it'll help it to dry faster just because you don't have as thick a coat on it. But also what you can do, and this is especially only when you have the gesso underneath, is I took a Scott's towel and I just blotted it here. Again, because I was trying to dry it because I had drops of paint. Look at the interesting effect that gives. So that's great. I mean, I don't want to spray on top of that and remove it at all. The other thing is, I hope you can see, I was saying that there's different textures on here because of the gesso underneath again. So, one other thing I want to do now in the next layer of this is I do want it a bit glossier. So, what I'm going to do is take my shimmers. You can also use the silks, but it's just I don't have a light enough color, otherwise I would use the silks. In this case I'm going to use the shimmers, and this is just the white because all I just want this page to shine a bit. Now you could do the same thing with, I suppose with a gel medium and a gloss, right? Ah, and look at that. See that great texture that's making there? Again, that's the beauty, I can't say it enough, of just creating layer upon layer. I want to zoom in on that so that you could see the effect that I'm getting over here. You see how great that is? Look at that. And even over here, it's almost doing like a crackle effect here. I'm just putting on the white. Just trying to get another layer. I'm going to wet this a bit to make it run. I'm going to put another layer of that over here. This is Shimmer's Pearls, by the way. So I'm just going over it. You can see. I'm trying to rub that white in is what I'm doing, because what I want from it is the shine more than the actual color. So moving over to this side over here so you could see me. And it's just going to give it a bit of a sheen. And again, of course, another little contrast, right? I'm rubbing over that part that was white, but it's creating a terrific effect, which I'm really liking. I'm going to move out so you can see this on this side over here. You see where I was saying it's white because I had rubbed it, but now my paintbrush has picked up the blue, and that's okay because I'm liking that too. Now, I did want this a little bit more even because we are going to create lines on this page. So you have a couple of options. You could put, actually what I'm going to put is the high gloss or medium gloss soft gel semi-gloss. And the reason I'm doing this is to smooth everything out, to sort of blend all my colors. There's something else that I could use. This is GAC 800, also from Golden. And what this does is it just makes everything blend together, and again gives me that sheen that I'm trying to go for. So I'm just rubbing this over now. The other option is you could use just the gloss medium. I usually do this at the end of all my pages anyways, but sometimes it's fun to do it because then you have a different kind of surface to work on. It's a little more slippery, and you can sort of do different things with it. Okay. So, loving that. I hope that you can see all of these wonderful textures that I've gotten on here. You see that? Look at all those textures. Not the gleam, but just the, look at down here where was the white, and you see my text showing through. I'm loving this. So this is going to be a very simple background page, okay? Because all we're trying to do is make ourselves a surface for writing on, assuming that you write in your journal. So I probably, even before I write, I probably would give myself some sort of border on this around the edges, just kind of to inspire myself even more. I'm going to dry this a little bit again. Okay, so I want to put a border. Now, I may just use something like these Mistables. I don't know if you've seen these. I just love this. It's fabric. It's from Pink Paisley. And it's fabric, so you can spray it and have different colors on it, or you can paint over it, and it creates like this great little border. Maybe this way. It's maybe a bit big. You know what? Let's do it across the top here. We'll do it across the top on these two. Now, again, I just do this in preparation for my page that I want to do, right? So I don't consider this part of my journaling. It's my prep, and that's why I'm including it in the background class. Okay, so I've cut myself 2 strips here, and what I'm going to do is glue these at the top like this. Give me some sort of border for my work. So I want to glue that on. I can see that it's still a bit wet here, but that's okay. We'll get that on. Oops. I have to cut it. I'm doing it right to the top. Now you see the paint is going on there, but that's part of the charm of this. You could spray it with a lighter color too, I'll show you. I'll put this one on here. Sometimes what I do is I spray them ahead of time, and then I've got them in different colors when I want to use them. And we'll just cut those edges off. So doesn't that create a great border? Look at that. Isn't that fun? Now I'm rubbing the paint deliberately here to try to get some specks of that blue paint on there, because again, it'll look more blended. And then around the bottom, I mean, there's all kinds of things that you could do. I've got these beautiful tapes that I may use, or you could use your washi tape, right? That'll work too. These are from French General, actually. And, you know, it's that kind of product that I've been waiting to use for just the right thing, because I love them so much I don't want to use them. But they're great because, look, you can just create a nice little border there. And same thing on the other side. Cut those. Fix this up a bit. Now again, this is just a background. Now this was a really simple background because all we did is one layer, right? And we'll do that there. And then I'll show you using a template how we will add our lines there for journaling. So let me take a minute here to go and dry this properly, otherwise it'll be a mess. And I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how I finished up this page that we worked on. We did the border with the fabric. We did a little border down here as well, and just created some great texture in the background. You know, what's good about this is here I had put the fabric on. You know, I mentioned to you that you can actually spray this with glimmer mist or with shimmers to give it some color. But what's happened after we put it on the blue paint, it actually took on the color of the blue. So I'm really liking that because I wanted it to be white, but I still wanted the blue to show through. So the other thing that I went ahead and did without you, actually more because I got carried away, was these lines that I've done on here on the journal. Now the lines are intended so that you can go and write in your journal, but they also add a lot of interest on the page. Now obviously you can do this using a ruler, but what I did is I went out and purchased this journaling genie, and they're relatively inexpensive, and as it turns out I've used it so often instead of using a ruler, and it's just a great little tool to have as an alternative to a ruler. I've used it a lot more than I actually thought I was going to. So what I did with this is I literally just laid it on my page. You can even use your page to line it up, so you know if you've got aligned with your journal page that you'll have a straight line. And then using a graphite pencil, I just went in here and drew my lines across like this, right, you know, through the holes using the template. And what you end up with is some nice straight lines, very evenly spaced, so it's even less work than using a ruler. So I did the same thing over here. I used thinner lines. You see there's different options here on the template. You can have either narrow lines, wide lines. It gives you a few different options. So I used my narrower lines on this side. I did the same thing. I lined it up, went ahead, drew my lines like this. And then you can also see that what I did is just, again, for interest in between my two columns. And it's more just because I can't help myself. I just cut out this little flower from a piece of stock paper. You don't have to cut out the flower. I just cut it out in the shape of a square freehand, or you could, you know, punch it out with a square punch just in between my columns. So, you know, once you have text written, that's kind of a nice pause in between the two paragraphs. So we still have a couple more backgrounds that I'm going to show you. So get your other pages gessoed, and we'll start working on some other ideas for backgrounds. Bye for now.